Hey everyone, Synthetic Future here, and today we're going to take a deeper look at rigid audio Sodium. This is a Kontakt library that requires the full version of Kontakt, so make sure if you're interested in this that you own Kontakt, or otherwise you can't use this. This is one of the many rigid audio plugins that is quite often featured on the Audio Plugin Deals website. They always go very cheap. And that always makes me wonder, are they any good or are they just cheap because they aren't very good? So this specific library, Sodium, is priced at $68. And I bought it in a pack with 5 libraries for $15. So that's very cheap. So definitely keep your eye out for deals on this if you are interested in this, because it does seem to go on sale fairly often. So what is Sodium? It's, according to Rigid's own website, a creative beat programming thing. So we're going to do a lot of beat making today. It features 200 what they call inspiring contemporary factory kits. Many sounds, a lot of stuff, and a sequencer. So it sounds like a drum thing for sure. So let's just quickly go through the layout and let's get into sounds after that. So you get 4 lanes. Every lane features 4 samples. So you have your 4 lanes here. They all have steps, bends, pitch, decay, filter, reverb, MFX, offset, and flams. And we will get into the MFX in a second. You have a and a B sequence randomization, and full kit randomization, a swing slider, and this is what they call the MFX, which are echo, drive, cut, choral, flare, and plate. Every lane has a bunch of factory presets. Now these are hard-coded, so you can't add your own presets on this dial. It's a bit of a shame. It's still pretty cool that they are here. And a volume and a pen per lane. Now the initial things are pretty standard drum stuff, so you can paint in your steps, and you can paint in your pen, pitch, decay, everything. And you can of course set the velocity just by dragging. Pretty basic. There's no copying or every X beat functionality, so that's a bit of a shame. So you really have to paint everything in. Now the MFX thing, I will cover it a little bit later on. Basically, how high you set this value determines which of the effects is being used to send to, and the offset determines which of the 4 samples is played in the lane. So do keep in mind that you can't play all the 4 samples in a lane at the same time. At the end you have a selection where you can choose to either play drum 1, drum 2, drum 3 or drum 4, that's the samples, cycle, randomize, or have them velocity trigger. And that's basically the main controls. There's also a little bar underneath. This is for randomization, so you can set the amount of randomization. Now this control is really tiny. Anyways, that's our software control. So let's take a quick look at the hardware control. So for that, let me turn on the camera for a second. Go. That's the MPK Mini. So we're up 1 octave, and in order we have a playback for the first track. Let me just quickly put this back on the steps so you can actually see it. Track 2. Track 3. And track 4. And for all the tracks at the same time. Then we have A and B select. So if we just play it back. So a bit of a weird thing here is that if you queue B while A is playing, it will wait for A to finish. But if you go from B to A, it will just instantly jump. So this can cause some issues. If you want to keep things in sync, you've got to be careful if you switch back, that you switch back on the one. After that, we get the individual tracks. So this is kick 1, kick 2, kick 3, kick 4. Then we get into the second lane. 1, 2, 3, 4. Third lane. And the fourth lane. And then we run out of all things. On the other end, you have a transpose functionality. So if I switch one octave down, now my bass drum is here. And I can transpose. One thing to note as well is that the oh, that's very low. That the transport is linked between lanes. So once you start transport, everything will stay in sync. So that's our hardware control side of things. So let's turn off the camera. There we go. And now let's talk a little bit about how we can control this, and let's go through some sounds. Actually, let's go through some sounds first, and then we will mess around with the controls a little bit. So you already heard this patch. Let's get out another patch. The patches are organized by acoustic kits, which is very generous. They're not very acoustic. Cinematic kits and electric kits or electro kits. The acoustic kits, let's start there. They are definitely not very acoustic, but let's hear them. Let's go into the cinematic kits for a second. And then there's also some electro kits, as they call them. So there's quite a bit of variation in kit sounds, but overall they are all pretty electronic-based kits. Acoustic kits definitely is reaching it. I wouldn't really call them very acoustic. But still, it's a good range of sounds, and there are actually some pretty good samples in here, so it's not all that bad. So let's take a look at this thing we've got going right here. So let's just listen to the bass. Now, if we want to, we can change the bass drum with the little parameter on top. And we have the panning going on here in the pitch. So you can quite easily change rhythms up, and you can see here with little lit up blocks where your active notes are. So that's very convenient when you're messing around with the effects. The M effects, let's just zero this out. So they are not being sent at all right now. I wonder if we can mute these so we can actually better see the representation of this. Actually can't do that, so that's a shame. Just empty them. Doesn't seem to matter. So now we're going into the echo. Let's actually clear everything out here. Let's just do a basic 4 on the floor. This is pretty hard with my left hand. All right. This is pretty prone to little clipping noises, I have noticed before, so not the biggest fan. You have to be a bit careful in which lane you're sending things to keep it from not really messing everything up. And besides, this control's a bit finicky to get it to go just the right way. Because I'm trying to get something to go to the choral, but I'm not having a terrible... There it is. Terrible much luck with that. So if I go just a little bit, a smidgen over this, it should go to the... stone choral. So I would say that's a bit of a annoyance in this configuration. It can be really hard to send it to a specific effect. So it definitely takes a little bit of practice. Aside from that, the offset sets which drum is being used. So right now it's all drum 2. I don't think you can actually offset negative. So let's turn it to drum 1. Let's see if we can send this one to drum 2. That's probably drum 3 then. I wonder if I messed up the kits now. So there's some control there to offset to another drum sound. I think it's very finicky to work with. Cycle works well though. So you can mess around with which part of the kit is being played with these controls. You can also import your own sounds into this. It's once again not the most elegant thing in the world. Basically, you take whatever drum samples you have. Let me just quickly see if I can find some wave files, individual hits. So you take 4 wave files. So right now my bass drums, if I actually play through them, it's probably better. That's my bass drums, and let's just load in these 4 waves into that track. Not the most diverse. Let's just take 4 things which are very much different. Now you don't have any further controls over these samples, nor can you rearrange them or anything. So from this point on, you're just rolling the die with which sample went where. But you can totally use your own samples if you want to. It's just not very easy to control them. And if you just want to replace one sample, you need to load in all the 4 samples again. So that's a little bit of a finicky control scheme. You can save these, so that's good, but still a little bit annoying. So yeah, that's Sodium in an overview. I think it's pretty cool, especially presets. There are some pretty cool presets that make me go, all right, that's pretty cool. You can definitely make something from that. The controls are good, although it's pretty prone to weird clipping noises when you have a lot of the effects going. So that's a little bit of a tricky thing to work around with. Overall, I would say not bad, especially not at the discount prices you often see. So if you saw any sounds in here which make you go, okay, that's cool, you can definitely check this out. At full retail price, I would say it's probably not worth it because there's quite a few options out there for drum software. And if you're going to pay $60, you might as well save a little bit more and go for something like EXA or Atlas, which ultimately offers more for a better price. Do have to note that all the samples do come in waveform, so if there are any sounds in here that make you go, oh, that's pretty cool, you can just take the wave files and go with it. It's 402 samples. So if you can pick this up at $10, that's still some pretty cheap samples, which sound pretty cool. So that's Sodium by Rigid Audio, and I'll see you around.